We don't dim, we don't shrink, we don't play small. Stand tall, stand proud, let them feel it all. Take up space, step into your power.
Welcome back to Chat with 6'4" Goddess, where we create conversations that empower women to take up space unapologetically. I'm your host, Anna Shea, also known as 6'4" Goddess. Today's conversation is one I'm genuinely excited about. And we're speaking with Leandra Taylor. She's a leader, advocate, and a board director of Color My Outdoors, a powerful organization helping redefine representation and belonging in outdoor spaces. We're diving into leadership, resilience, healing through nature, and what it truly means to walk as a victorious woman. Leandra, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing well. And that was like a poem of an entrance. So
Ooh.
thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Who you are, Leandra, when it comes to being outdoors, disconnected from the expectations and fully connected to yourself. What is that like?
I really appreciate this question. So I feel like when I was younger, I was really shy about owning my identities. And now I can proudly say I'm an artist, I'm a scientist, I'm a naturalist. So when
Okay.
I go outside, like I'm blending all of those things together. I'm looking at the beauty of nature. I'm reflecting on those things that make me feel beautiful as a Black woman. As a scientist, I'm looking at what's happening outside, what's the impact that we're having on it. And as a naturalist, like what can I learn from nature? What is it reflecting back to me that I might not be seeing in my everyday life because we have all these devices and all these distractions happening. So nature for me is where I feel the closest to myself, where I have this space to nature journal and bird watch and just feed my curiosity and my inner child. So for me, nature is me in my most natural state. And that's something that I have always cherished, even when it felt weird.
Now you say weird because I'm thinking, you know what? That's not something that's common, when people to be
Yeah.
outside. We all go to breathe the fresh air, but
hmm
think about that being a weird space for you because you've been like this, you said, since you were a kid, right?
Yeah, like so for recess, I feel like I spent a lot of my recess just staring at anthills and like looking at bees. And I played like a regular kid, but sometimes I was just by myself, and a lot of my art from my childhood reflects that. So it's a lot of anthills and butterflies and flowers and just kind of feeding that fascination with the natural world and all of the things outside. So it's just something that's always been really interesting to me.
Yeah, and that's what makes you special. And I love that because I think so many people and women spend years trying to fit into spaces that were never designed for
Yeah,
them. And
yeah,
you already kind of knew early on that this is kind of my way of create my outlet.
yeah, yeah.
So I appreciate that about you. Because
Yeah, it's been a journey to feed those identities. Like I will definitely say there have been times when like if you asked me, I wouldn't have said I was an artist. And so I had to learn that being an artist doesn't come from outside validation. It is like giving that to myself and owning like these are the things that I am because I say that I am and I move through the world that way. And so not limiting myself to if other people think that I am that.
that's powerful too. Because again, it goes back to even my book. I wrote a book. It's called The Goddess League. This is
Okay.
you
Okay,
see.
a book.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. This is why you see my backdrop. But when you just mentioned, having that permission to give yourself to say, I want to live out loud. I want to
Mhm.
not have to tell I don't want anybody to tell me it's wrong
Yeah.
because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to contribute to society, not go along with it. I'm gonna go off of topic really quick because
Mhm.
it kind of ties into me. I was thinking about you mentioned to me your height, you're 6 foot tall. Um, when you came into this field, did anybody take you as a joke? Or did anybody say, you know what, this is not where you belong, girl?
Yeah, I don't think you would be surprised because I feel like it's not a unique experience for Black women to be underestimated, especially in spaces where we are, the only one or they're one of few, and it can feel like you have to hold the weight of all of those things at one time, like going into a meeting as the facilitator and being assumed to be the intern or like, actually, I'm gonna go ahead and get us started. Thank you for that. But I am here in leadership, and so, it. I think one of the things that I learned along the way is like not feeling like I have to prove myself to people and feeling good about the way that I show up. And so I've definitely been underestimated or just felt like completely invisible. So it's funny, we were talking about being 6 feet tall or taller than 6 feet. One of my earliest memories in this field of conservation in the outdoor industry, I went to a trade show
Mhm.
and there were, it just, and I grew up in Colorado, so I grew up in predominantly white spaces, but this had to have been one of the whitest spaces. And I felt so out of place. And as 6 feet tall, I felt like I was like standing out. Like there was no way for me to not be seen, but I did feel invisible. And it's funny because years later, I had come back as a mountaineer. I had climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. And so there was this new energy. Now I'm interesting. Now people want to hear my story and they want to know all of these different things because I have a different set of credentials than I did when I first went. And one of the things that I took away from that, because I felt really alone, was I'm going to keep coming back here because I want to make sure that more and more Black and Brown people come to this space and see somebody else Black and Brown in the space. And so as I continued to go back every year, by the third year, now I'm a mountaineer. I'm sitting up here with an all Black team. We're talking about Mount Kilimanjaro. And now I felt this validation for myself that what I saw as a necessary step did create a change. Like now I have community at this space where I first went and felt completely alone. I didn't know anyone. There's thousands of people. And now we're coming back and it feels like a reunion because there's a small pocket of us that love to see each other at these trade shows. And so I feel like whether it's been a direct verbal underestimating or just one of those passive things, it's been unfortunately really common throughout my career. And I think I've started to kind of think like in those moments, well, what are my strengths? Like thank you for pointing out what you see and what do I see as my strengths that I can move forward with because it'll just tear you down.
Yes, it will. And that's all great gems that I think
Mhm.
to take away from when it comes to just any height, any race. It's just what are your strengths? What can you
Mhm.
gain and get from this? So your perspective is admirable because that could have broke some people and said, I ain't never coming back. But for you to do
Yeah.
and then create this whole team is woo, that's impressive. I love to hear that. And that does lead me into the next question, which what sparked your journey into leadership with Color My Outdoors? And why does representation as a woman of color in outdoor spaces matter so deeply?
I've been working in this field for over a decade, which feels really wild to say it out loud. I actually ran into Simone, the executive director and founder of Color My Outdoors, at a conference in Western North Carolina. I was living in Asheville, North Carolina at the time, and we were at a conference called Outdoors for All, which was a space where we were really talking about representation and inclusion in the outdoors and what does it mean to create spaces where no matter your walk of life or your identities, you feel a part of that. And while I was at this conference, this was my second year going, and I really enjoyed it the first time. Simone approached me and said, "Hey, I've been looking for you." And I had had some not great board experiences before that, and I remember feeling called to board service, but not knowing where to start. And so when she walked up to me, I was like, "Man, God will make any moment happen." Like, thank you for this. And really just hearing more about what it was that she was creating with Color My Outdoors, this space for representation and storytelling and uplifting all of these different experiences in the outdoors resonates with me so deeply because I feel like I've been doing that for years leading up to it in different capacities in my passion time, volunteering and leading people in the outdoors, also to working full time in this field. And so for me, it was marrying the opportunity to apply my passions and knowledge. Like I've navigated different parts of this field and creating new leadership opportunities for Black and Brown leaders that want to see themselves connecting other people in the outdoors. And what are some of those essential skills that aren't always as accessible, or you have to know someone, or you have to jump through all these different barriers, and by then you're exhausted and you're like, I don't even know if I need the thing. So for me, Color My Outdoors is about creating that as a space, creating a space for community, for leadership, and those are the things that I think are the most important when we're talking about inclusion in the outdoors. And so for me, it was like, oh, this is easy. I'm a yes already. The first time I met her, I knew I was going to be on her board, and so that was really exciting, and it's been an awesome journey ever since.
That's great. In listening to you, it makes me wonder. It's a two-part question. Did you ever doubt yourself when it comes to just like
Mm.
how you can change perspectives and get on these boards?
I did, yeah. I doubted myself because for a long time I was the youngest one in a lot of those spaces. And I felt it can be so hard not to hear what other people are saying when they're challenging you and they're saying like, you can't do that. Black people don't do that. You wouldn't do that. And again, like I'm trying to toe the line of knowing that I can do it, but not just doing it to prove it to you because it's not always worth the energy of someone else. And I think doubt creeps in a lot. And it's one of the things that I've tried to do work to sit with. Like I don't even try to push past it anymore. I give my doubt space. Let me hear everything that you have to say so that I can make you not the loudest voice in the room. Because sometimes I feel like doubt is yelling, and then my confidence is like, no, I'm here. I'm trying to talk over you. And so I think that's when community and friendship and like your loved ones uplifting you and like feeding back into you, like gives you that fire back. So as much as I love myself and can uplift myself, I think community is one of the things that for it just really like kind of snuffs out that doubt. My friends make me feel like I could do anything tomorrow, today, like whatever day I could just pick up and decide I'm gonna climb a mountain and then go do it.
I like your friends. Those are good
Yeah, me
friends.
too. They're good friends.
They are. They are. And the second part of my question, which you kind of answered, but others, people,
Mhm.
your friends pushing you into another field, into another profession, like for instance, athletics.
Mm. Oh, okay. I feel like this brings me to my most frequent conversation with strangers, which is what sport did you play? Did you play basketball? What
Mm,
position did you play? And
mm.
I'm like, we are not all built for sports. Like, I mean, I'm not helping myself. I did play basketball until somewhere in high school when I was like, I actually don't like this. I'm doing this because I feel like I have to because I'm tall. And I don't enjoy being in the paint. These were all of the tallest, biggest. Anyways, it was not the sport for me. And so my brothers are also 6'9", and so we've all been athletes. And yeah, we're tall. I feel short when I'm with my brothers. Um, and so for me, I think I had to continue to push back and carve into my own lane. Like, what do I really want to be doing? Even if I'm good at it, do I enjoy it? Like, is this something that I want to continue to do? And for me, sports wasn't that. Like, I want to be creative. I want to be sitting somewhere drawing and doing all of these different things. And yeah, it's hard to not feel like, as a tall person, you are an athlete or in some form of entertainment in that way. When I was at the trade show that I mentioned, and I felt like I'm 6 feet tall, I had this huge afro out, and I just felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb. And when I thought back on it, I was like, that is because you are not meant to shrink yourself. You're not meant to be smaller so that you can fit into the crowd, so that you can blend in, so that you can be comfortable because you're kind of invisible. You are meant to stand up tall so that other people can see you. Other people know you're in there. You know you're in there. You are supposed to be here at your stature. And for me, it was really uplifting later. But in that moment, I felt like, like I couldn't shrink myself enough to be invisible, which is what I wanted because I felt so out of place. And that was one of the things that I'm like, I'm gonna keep coming back. Like there's no way I'm gonna let this shrink me. Even if it's, just continuing to go back to a space and holding that space literally, like with my stature and being okay
Mm-hmm.
being there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's some good reflection right there. That's good
Hmm.
reflection. Wow. I use the word shrink a lot as well. So for you to bring that up, I
Mm.
wasn't even going to bring it up in this conversation.
Yeah.
Here we are, and I love that because again, it's what we do.
Yeah.
It's what we think we should do. And we
Hmm.
have to teach ourselves because a lot of times we didn't have somebody to talk to about it because somebody wasn't in our profession or wasn't
Yep.
in our, point of interest. And you have to just kind of work through that in real time. And then whenever you get to hindsight, of course we're gonna, cheer for ourselves, but
Yeah.
that's hindsight. It's 2020. You speak about nature in such a powerful and intentional way. And I think a lot of people underestimate how healing it truly can be. So
Mm.
What do you believe people are missing when they're not utilizing this God-given gift of nature?
On a really basic level, I feel like nature just has an intrinsic beauty. It's beautiful just because it's there, because it's created the way that it is. It sustains our lives. It provides all of these different things from food and shelter and all of the things that we need to live. But
Yep.
I think as humans, there's so many health benefits that I don't think that people who have been marginalized or have not been included in the outdoor space aren't getting benefits like stress reduction, increasing your focus,
Hmm.
self-regulation, grounding yourselves, like taking your shoes off when you're outside and just putting your feet in grass. There's benefits to that. There's scientific studies that show that the more you are outside, the more health benefits you're actually soaking up. And a lot of these things I think are rooted in segregation and racism in a lot of our country's history, where we were excluded intentionally from these spaces because, not because all the health benefits, but because there is something special about it. And so, even before enslavement history, Black and brown people had a connection to nature and to the outdoors, whether it was a space that you're laying down your burdens or you're feeding and sustaining yourself. And so I feel like there's this disconnect that was created for us in a storyline and a narrative that was fed to us that contributes to things like Black people don't go outside. I think that is a result of that. I feel like that's an internalized piece that still lives on. And so when I think about what people are missing out on, I think they're missing out on something that is their right. It is your right to be outside, to breathe fresh air, to feel safe, and to enjoy nature. It's not everyone's experience, but that's the work that I feel like I'm trying to contribute to, is making sure that people do feel a sense of safety. They feel safe enough, and they feel like they have community, and you feel like you have a space to get to know yourself, to challenge yourself. Like I've learned so many things about myself outside, pushing myself beyond any kind of boundary that I had created in my mind. And so I feel like I come out stronger and I know myself more because of the time that I spend in nature, unplugged from devices.
To be continued. Can't wait to see you all for part two, where we're diving deeper into leadership, representation, wilderness medicine training, and the powerful conversations happening around creating safer, more inclusive outdoor spaces for Black women. I'll see you all next time. Welcome to the Goddess League.